Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us for the annual State of the University Address. During our time today, there will be several ways for you to interact with Frank and me. At the conclusion of Frank's presentation, we will both take questions. First, from anyone who sends a message or sends a question through social media or by card to Suzanne Shaw. So if you don't want to ask your own question, you could forward a question and it will be asked anonymously. Second, then directly from anyone in the audience. The questions can be on any topic except one. No questions on the new healthcare plan at this point because we're going to hold our town hall meeting on that topic at 1:30. And then we will stay as long as we need to answer all questions on that topic. Frankly, I want some other people to help me with those questions, and so we're going to hold those until we do the second part of the meeting. You know, I want to begin by saying that many good things were accomplished last year despite no increase in state funding for a third consecutive year. Flat funding this year was actually a victory, as our former governor had proposed another significant cut to funding to higher education. For us at Missouri State, that would have been an additional $6.5 million reduction. And so working through the legislature, we were able to get that funding restored, and Governor Parson then signed that budget with that restored funding. The slide that's up here now shows our legislative achievements from last year, and I believe they were significant. Besides the restoration of $6.5 million in core cuts, we were able to receive again a $600,000 core increase for our mechanical engineering program. That program will start in fall of 19. We received $1.1 million in one-time money to build an expansion of the Bull Shoals Field Station. That project is being designed right now. We were able to obtain a modification to our tuition caps. As you all know, for probably a decade now, our ability to raise undergraduate in-state tuition has been statutorily limited to whatever the inflation was last year. And that was true whether the state funded us more or less in any given year. The legislature passed a modification to that so that in years where state funding goes down, that tuition cap has some flexibility to it. Frankly, that's an incentive for the state not to reduce funding to us, and so we're very pleased to get that across the finish line. Governor Parson also signed that legislation into law. Maybe most importantly, degree legislation was passed. You all know that 13 years ago when the name change occurred, one of the limitations that came with that was a very restricted ability to offer professional and doctoral programs. We now have a new framework that significantly expands those opportunities for the university. Folks are working on specific new programs in that area now. I think as we look back on it, that may be the biggest achievement on any level that was obtained this year. I know Julie Masterson is pleased with that change, as are our entire academic leadership team. And then the last thing on this slide references a change in the state tax increment financing cap. You may not have any idea what that is. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later because that is going to allow for the expansion of our Jordan Valley Innovation Center, the Idea Commons project. And that expansion could not have happened with state funding absent that change to the statutory tax increment financing law. Other good things happened last year as well. And so every year we prepare a video entitled "What's New at MSU?" and you're going to be the first group of people to see that video right now. A few years ago, we dreamed about what would be next. What if we upgraded our buildings, added critical academic programs, and graduated more students than ever before? And what if we did all that while remaining one of the most affordable universities in the country? That was next. Now, it's reality.
Missouri State continues to put students like me first. A new plan to keep tuition affordable meant the cost of attendance stayed below national and state averages. That's a big deal for a campus that set another enrollment record. There's more than 26,000 of us now. That includes more than 1,500 international students, and even more program initiatives with countries outside the United States. And several of us won big awards. A new state law means we'll have more access to graduate and doctoral degrees, too. After all, Missouri State's proven the quality of its programs. We received awards for several in the last year. Of course, facilities attract students and faculty. That's why Missouri State followed through on improvements to Glass, Ellis, and Hill Hall. We also opened the state-of-the-art Majors Health and Wellness Center. Have you heard we are now an all-Steinway school too? These improvements are thanks in large part to the support from our state legislators and to the foundation raising more than $21 million in gifts. These changes will also help faculty and students continue their key research projects, which nabbed more than $26 million in grants this year. The grand total of alumni keeps going up. A record number of us graduated and a record number earned bachelor's degrees. Missouri State's support helped us cross that finish line. Thanks to programs such as the Impact Summit, the Bears Lead program for student success, and a conference aimed at helping first-generation students. In fact, we're ranked as the top university for first-gen students. MSU also continued its quest to be an inclusive leader. They accepted the first class of Bear Power students, established the Facing Racism Institute, and were one of 2 universities selected to host the Dungy Leadership Institute. We also welcomed a new chancellor to West Plains. It's also nice to call this place home because of a commitment to sustainability. On the field, our student athletes shined. Championships in baseball, men's and women's soccer, women's golf, men's and women's swimming and diving, women's tennis, and volleyball resulted in our Missouri Valley Conference All-Sports Trophy. The NBA said yes to Alize Johnson, who became the first Bear drafted into the league since 1987. Lily Johnson finished one of the best careers in school history with her 4th All-American season, a first at Missouri State. The baseball Bears continued their run of success with 3 drafted players: Jeremy Eierman, Dylan Coleman, and Hunter Steinmetz. A new head basketball coach has Bears fans excited for what's next at JQH Arena.
All right, I'll see you guys later. In short, that's what's new at MSU. What's next? We can't wait to find out.
That video was made completely in-house by our folks, and so nicely done as always. I thought I'd follow up on a few of the things with some additional details that you just saw, and then I'll talk about what we're looking at for next year. We did set a 7th consecutive enrollment record on the Springfield campus. Our biggest gain this year was in graduate students. We have the most graduate students in our history this semester, and I suspect our provost may talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I do want to emphasize that maintaining our enrollment is critical. 2/3 of our operating revenue comes from tuition and fees. And unfortunately, when we compare our credit hour numbers this fall to those of last year, we're down about 5,000 credit hours, and so we'll have to do a budget adjustment to manage that revenue loss. And so let me encourage us all to continue to aggressively recruit students. It's important that more people come to college. It changes their lives. It changes the lives of their families. It improves the economic conditions of our state, and it directly impacts our operating budget. More important than enrollment, though, is completion. And last year, we graduated a record number of students, awarding 5,184 degrees and certificates. Our board put a goal in place for us for our 5-year plan, and we have exceeded it by more than 200 already in year 2 of that 5-year plan. And so well done, everyone that had a part in that. We added new academic programs, including many certificates, that will allow our students to complete degrees in stages. Stackability is an emphasis point for the Coordinating Board for Higher Education, and we made real progress on that. We began several new retention initiatives to be able to retain and graduate more of our first-generation Pell eligible and other at-risk students. We increased the diversity of our faculty and staff to 14.1%. That's up from 11.5% just 2 years ago. Again, that exceeds our 5-year goal 3 years early. And once again, we met our target of 20% of new hires coming from diverse backgrounds last year. As the video showed, we made significant facilities investments, including the renovation of Hill Hall, one of our 3 original buildings, the construction of both the Majors Health and Wellness Center on the Springfield campus and Hasdar Hall on the West Plains campus, which we dedicated last week. And maybe most importantly, we added a new parking lot at Idea Commons. That's supposed to be funny. Yep, there you go. We improved safety on campus by completing an in-depth IT security assessment on both our campuses and are implementing the recommendations that came out of that report. And we continue to improve our IT infrastructure in other ways as well. We maintained our affordability by raising tuition by less than inflation, by reducing the number of hours to graduate from 125 to 120, and through a variety of other measures as shown on the slide. Affordability has been a huge piece of our growth. It's the #1 issue for students that start with us, and we have to remember that, the importance of that as we design our budgets going forward. We know our graduate outcomes for the first time in our history, and almost 90% of last year's graduating seniors were employed or in graduate school within 6 months of graduation. We received more than $47 million of external support, with $26 million in grants and sponsored contracts and another $21.5 million in private contributions through the foundations, both record years. And as the video showed, we won 10 sports conference championships last year and earned the All-Missouri Valley Conference All-Sports Trophy. What the video didn't say is we did all that while reducing our expenditures on athletics by over $1 million. These were all group efforts, and so I want to thank everyone who played a role in improving our university as we continue to move onward and upward. One major disappointment last year was our inability to fund an across-the-board raise due to limited state funding for 3 years in a row. This was the first time in my 7 years in this position that that has occurred. And while we did still increase compensation as shown on this slide, we must and we will do better this year. As the next slide shows, the cost of benefits, both our pension and our healthcare systems, continued to increase last year, and the university funded those increases without passing along anything to units or to our employees. Significantly there, when you add the $1.5 million budgeted health care contribution to the $2.1 million unbudgeted health care contribution, you'll see that the costs of our self-funded health care plan went up by $4.1 million last year. That's going to be the subject of our town hall meeting and how we address that issue going forward. Now, let me highlight 6 major initiatives for this year, and then I will pass the baton over to Frank for his part of the presentation. First, growing specific academic programs strategically. You know, I think we have plateaued in terms of our marketing share, of increasing our marketing share. That is going to be ever more difficult in a situation of full employment, fewer students at community colleges to transfer to us, fewer students, non-traditional students going back to college, and no growth in the high school age population. And so if we're going to continue our growth, frankly, if we're going to maintain the enrollment that we have, our enrollment growth focus will need to shift to a more strategic growth plan. And so the questions we have been and will be asking include what new programs should be added, what existing programs have capacity to expand, what barriers to entry to existing programs can be removed, how do we best continue to expand online, what marketing help is needed for these initiatives, etc. I think Frank will focus more on this topic as well in a minute. Second, we do need to work on improving particularly our retention rates, but also our graduation rates. We have work to do here. This slide shows our retention rates from last year, and as you can see, we went down in each category. And so the questions here include how can we better support our most at-risk students? How do we move to a more proactive advising system? Can our GEP structure make a difference? Can we scale up some of the pilot programs we began last year? We have created the Center for Academic Success and Transition. Kelly Wood is the director of this center, and she will lead our efforts this year, but she cannot do it alone. Third, expanding Idea Commons. And so we're working on a public-private partnership with a developer, the Vecino Group, with the Chamber of Commerce, the City of Springfield, and city utilities to expand the Jordan Valley Innovation Center. A part of this partnership will also include building a parking garage and the funding of a new privately owned office building. That'll be a project that the Vecino Group owns, not the university. Financing is coming into place with one federal tax credit program still in limbo. If those tax credits are obtained, the university will obtain $26 million at facilities at ultimately no cost as a result of the tax increment financing change mentioned earlier. If these projects come into being, we believe they have the potential to transform downtown, lead to the opening of Jordan Valley Creek, and improve our community, which ultimately leads to easier recruitment and retention of talent in Springfield. Fourth, we are in the process of launching a new comprehensive campaign led by the foundation. We're in the silent phase now of a new campaign to raise money for the university with a focus on academic and student support. We will be setting our target, getting the structure in place, and meeting with key people this year. We believe the time is right to launch given the success the university has had over the last 7 years. Fifth, we'll be advocating aggressively for new state funding. Our goal this year is to receive new performance funding, new equity funding, funding for a capital project, and to successfully compete for funding in the workforce development arena. We are very hopeful with new leadership in Jefferson City that all of these funding sources will be available to us, and we believe we are positioned to do well with many government leaders connected to the university and our region of the state. We will let you know how you can help. Finally, increasing compensation for faculty and staff is our #1 priority this year. The Executive Budget Committee met last week, and we will be presenting a mid-year raise proposal to the Board of Governors at its October meeting. More to come on this item soon. We live in challenging times. Our country is divided along many lines. We saw that clearly on campus when the president was here last week. The tone and style of our national politics has changed, but things are better in Missouri with the change in administrations in Jefferson City, and I'm excited about the coming year. Here's my final challenges to all of us. First, let's be positive. Remember that we are making a difference in the lives of thousands of students. Despite lack of state funding, the university is thriving, and our influence and profile in the state has never been higher. Second, let's continue to emphasize our public affairs mission of community engagement, ethical leadership, and cultural competence. And let's do it with an emphasis on inclusion, civility, compassion, and kindness. We just had a tremendous public affairs conference. Let's remember what we heard and live it out, even in challenging times. Every employee, every student, no matter their political or religious views or lack thereof, everyone should feel a part of the Missouri State University family. If we can make that happen, this will continue to be a special place to work and attend school. Frank will now report on some of the academic achievements of the past year and comment further on various academic initiatives underway. Thank you. Frank?
Thank you, Clif. I know that the words you said at the end, let's be positive, are ones that I'd like to take on further at this point in the program and expand on some of the highlights where you, my colleagues and friends, have made significant achievements. That'll be the first half of things I want to mention. The second half, I want to look a little bit more at our action plan and the fact that it's calling us to be more innovative as we go along in all phases of our work. So, looking at some of the things that we can praise and go forward with, we start this year, or in this year, have the highest number of pathways students might take to achieve their goals of graduation and then on into the workforce. This number of pathways can be confusing, and yet it can be a real delight when you have some unique things you can achieve. So if we look at our situation, we have 60 graduate programs plus, another over 60 in terms of the certificate opportunities at the graduate level. At the undergraduate level, we have over 100 with regard to majors, and then of course when we look at all the options, that translates to about 170. And we also have some certificates, and that area is growing. As we look into some of the numbers, Clif set the concept of we have an enrollment record, we do, but as we look at where those elements of that record are, again, he mentioned I'm proud of the graduate, but I'm proud of every area in there. And one of the things it shows is we have a changing mix in our student population. So in addition to having more graduate students by more than 100, we have more dual credit students. And so we now surpass another record where we have 2,929 dual credit students. Those students are then what impacts when our first-time new and college students come in. In this case, we have those students that represent 63% of our new freshmen that have come in with credit, and that credit on average is more than 15 credit hours that they're bringing with them. That's a change in the mix of our student population, consistently changing. We also have a new record in our people that are enrolled in the honors program with 338. As we look at the total number in the honors program, we're second high in that category at this time. So among our records, we have some differences in the way and our patterns of enrollment. But we also have some other kinds of records. in experiential learning or active learning. Our Study Away hit a new high with well over 600 students participating in Study Away various places in the world. And on our service learning, which does indeed help us a great deal in carrying out that mission of public affairs. In our service learning, we've more than doubled in just the last few years. And this semester, we're at 5,600. We anticipate 8,000 students involved in student learning through the course of this year. It's been bolstered a great deal by our vision screening program. We anticipate having clients, if you will, people that we help in vision screening to be about 12,000 this fall. And we're already at having had 35,000 young children and in some cases adults in which we've had vision screening be a help to them. We do this at the start of the year with a record number of faculty. The faculty number here is our teaching faculty. It does not include the library faculty and a very few others that are not teaching. But we have 764 faculty, and if you look at the different colleges, our College of Agriculture at 26, and then our largest college, College of Arts and Letters, in terms of numbers of faculty by head count. Everybody grew in faculty numbers some, and except the College of Agriculture was steady this year. If we look at the distribution with regard to ranks and comparative former years, we're 11 faculty more than last fall and 59 more faculty than just a few years ago, as shown on the graph. Our largest number right now is in the assistant professor ranks, but I want to point out, and it's always a worry to faculty, that our instructor level as a percentage has remained essentially fairly constant. It's at 21%, and that's pretty much what it's been for the years Clif and I have been doing this. We have some highlights in terms of recognitions that weren't on the film. Our mind's eye situation is our publication for research, and this year is the 6th edition. You either got it in the mail in the last few days or you're about to get it in the mail, and it features 13 stories of some of the good work that are being done, both basic and applied research. And in terms of recognition, the mind's eye publication arm of the university is in our communications division, and they won an award for national recognition of the video portion, that we now have video accompanying a few of the mind's eye stories, and they won an award for that this year at the national level from CASE. They also won a regional award for the print edition. The important thing is they've made things in research readable, understandable, and that's what got the award. And I couldn't be prouder both of what they have done for us, but what the faculty have done in the research that actually gets published in that way. And I'm going to use a few moments here for one of the videos.
Being nimble and open to change is a major key to success in most industries. If you had to wait 25 to 30 years to make a major change or to recognize a success or failure of a product, your company would die. But that's how the grape and wine industry has worked, taking as long as a quarter of a century to release a new hybrid grape to the market, until now.
Throughout history, if you wanted to know whether a plant would grow in your region, you dug through information from the farmers who went before you. Or you dug a hole, planted your plant, and hoped.
The work of Dr. Chin Feng Huang is changing that for the wine industry. He and his team, including undergraduate and graduate students, as well as collaborators from Cornell University, are using cutting-edge DNA marker technology to speed up the traditional breeding of hybrid grapes. There are fewer than 10 labs in the nation working with grapes at this molecular level.
We identify DNA markers associated to the gene that make a grape more disease-resistant or appropriate for the climate of a specific region.
With this information, they can design grape cultivars that have many of the most enticing traits of the world's best wine. For instance, European grapes, like the Cabernet Sauvignon, do not thrive when grown in the Midwest. But Missouri's state grape, the Norton, does. This team is figuring out how to pour all the most desirable traits into new cultivars.
And now, growers are able to see the importance of developing new hybrids.
By identifying the DNA tied to the traits in laboratory and greenhouse settings rather than in a vineyard, Dr. Huang is saving land, water, labor cost, and time, all of which are major factors in the sustainability of a breeding program. This will help growers by making new adapted cultivars available in a timely manner. With grant funding approaching $2 million, their research will also help growers save money on pesticides when the new hybrids are released.
Rather than waiting 25 to 30 years to see the success of the vine, we are breeding high-quality grapes using DNA markers to assemble what the discerning wine lover wants. We hope the fruits of our labor will be in your glass soon.
Since I'm Chancellor of the Mountain Grove campus, I thought this might be fitting to show. And besides, he ends that about high quality, and this is a quality piece of research that exemplifies a lot more that we see in other ways. And leading then on to some other ways, we see the research of the faculty with over 400 products that are peer reviewed in the past year. Obviously, the journal articles are the leading ones in number, but everything up here represents impacts where we're adding to the storehouse of knowledge. And just looking at the books, they have better covers to show than journal articles. And Victor, that's why you get praise a lot from your college. But Victor's college, the College of Humanities and Public Affairs, had half of the 27 books came out of that college. You can see the diversity of topics here, everything from criminology to the Mayan documents and culture and religion, and on into inclusion in the Army at a particular period. We are adding to the storehouse of knowledge, and this is a part of the teaching mission as well at the university. Now, we mentioned the dollar amount that comes in from awards last year in the way of grants and contracts, but equally or perhaps more important is we have a heavy involvement of over 110 faculty that have their name as principal investigators on proposals, and in total the submission is over 300 last year. If we can keep that up, the Missouri State name will continue to be expanded and have recognition. One way we do recognize good investigative work, but as well good teaching and good service, are those faculty that go on during their full professor career and make their mark, continuing as they go on. And we do this with a salary program called the Professor Salary Incentive Program. These 6 individuals were recognized last year. That adds to our number then, so that we have 63 recipients to date. And I haven't talked to Clif, but I think we'll continue that next year. Now a couple of other things with regard to recognitions, and then to the second half of what I want to say. Our debate team which is a legacy program, meaning it's been around and doing fine things for many years at this university. They came in second in the national sweepstakes, and they came on second only to the University of Nebraska, a Big Ten school. This is recognition for the faculty that helped them, but also for a large number of students that participate on this team. And it turns out, of course, there are some individual recognitions as well. Our debate students come from several different majors. They're not concentrated in one area, so it's a wide scale across the university recognition. We also, I get in trouble every time I recognize somebody or something, but our media, journalism, and film, as a department in the last 17 years or so has won 650 awards. Whopping number of awards. This year we had an Emmy nomination in the Show Me Chefs area, and I think it's really a recognition of what is going on in a much broader area in the university where we do gain stature in the university communities. Looking at our long-range plan, it's entitled Implementing the Vision, and basically we put together an action plan every year. Our action plan this year involves a focus continuing what we have been doing, trying to bolster graduation numbers and getting people to completion either of a degree then or a certificate. I'm going to mention each of the 10 things around this cluster in terms of one or more examples, but basically we're turning our attention to trying to provide workforce needs in areas that are out there and in demand by our students. And we know that to do this, we involve ourselves still in high quality work, doing partnerships, and trying to overcome some hurdles so that we can make it possible for having more students graduating in successful areas of the job market. Two of those areas that have been rather hot in the last few years are in technology and healthcare. The red line on the screen is with regard to the majors in computer science. And you notice in the last 7 years, the majors in computer science have increased by 2.5 times. So that's a recognition of need and demand. A somewhat companion program in the College of Business, Computer Information System, spun off cybersecurity just a few years ago, but if you add the cybersecurity and the computer information shift, they've increased about 100 students. Healthcare is a little harder to get your handle on because much of their demand is shown in admission applications, and we always limit the number in so many programs. So in OT, occupational therapy, and physician's assistant, we have about 400 applicants in the last time around, and we of course only take a fraction of those. In physical therapy, 500 applicants. Nursing, over 600 applicants. One where we haven't limited number recently is nurse anesthesia. And you notice we've grown from 30 majors to over 130, and put some tremendous stresses what we have to recognize when that happens. One area we're trying to get at in terms of the recognition of need is doing targeted certificates that are more focused to the outside, meaning people that are not on campus, although many certificates are focused to help the ones who are here. I just listed a few, and I'm going to talk about two very briefly. Our RN First Assist program will have its first class in another few weeks in October, and that is to assist RN nurses to become better able to work in the operating rooms. And that'll be a clientele outside the university. A second one I'll mention is dyslexia. Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has said we need to do more, and teachers being prepared to help in that arena. And we hope to be the first in the state to have a dyslexia certificate that will be an outreach. Obviously, a few things here are more internal, but most of those are external. We know that the media in which we use to deliver coursework is always changing. Part of that change is listed as online, and of course last summer, if you look, we had 57% of our student credit hours generated from online coursework. This fall, it is 16%, and if we take the past fiscal year, we're at 18% for the full year. We have, I think it's 15 graduate programs that can be done online and 18 graduate certificates and about 15 undergraduate programs. These things are expanding, and they will be part of how we put some of those certificates out. We want to keep quality, and accreditation is one of the measures that we utilize for that. Last year we did I'm going to say a whopping 1/3 of our accreditations came due for renewal last year, and that was a tremendous job. You can see that we came out successfully. We're still waiting on word for a couple of those, but the exit interviews say yes, we'll be fine. This year we'll do reaccreditation for our nursing programs and also for computer science. As we look at what's been successful and therefore hopefully project something of the future, the interdisciplinary areas, I think, are still projecting as an area of high need. This is with our respect to our graduate programs, interdisciplinary two programs, primarily the Master of Professional Studies and then one of interdisciplinary studies. And you can see in the last 5 years, our numbers there have doubled. And we anticipate, because they appeal to particularly our international students who want a segment of their work here at Missouri State, these will continue to be successful. At the undergraduate level, the Bachelor of General Studies shows a similar trend. Look at what's happened in that program in just a 3-year interval. And we have 100 students in the pipeline. And in about 2 weeks, Dr. Darabi will be running a mission graduate all-day seminar where she's going to get a lot of advisors to help. We have 2,000 students who have over 100 credit hours earned who have left the university in the last 5 years without earning a degree. We need to help them, and this is one way to try and see, by evaluating their transcripts, who can we help best in this regard. Here's a little testimonial from one of those students. And one of the lines I like in it, that is not just how our person here was proud of the achievement, but she was also giving us some praise for helping her get there. We need to do more of that. I'm going to get in trouble here, but process improvement is something we try to do. And the reason I'm going to get in trouble, there's always a learning phase getting there, and the first part of process improvement, usually we say it's harder than it was before. But we anticipate that our admission processes that are changing with GradCAS and UniCAS and also dual enroll, in the long run, we're going to make it better for students, and it's a streamlining process, more of a one-shop approach that's going to help us. Likewise, we'll have better communication in our CRM. We anticipate eventually that the state requirement for Core 42 is going to make it better for students. Don't ask Don Simpson, though, he won't agree. But we anticipate that given a little time, it's going to make better for students. And these are some of the things we're trying to do to reduce the hurdles and make things a little more approachable for our students. We have partnerships that we're building on. Last Thursday, we signed the agreement on the mechanical engineering. Currently, we have about 200 students in civil and electrical engineering. We anticipate another 200 in mechanical once we're up and running for a few years. That will start next fall. One of our partners that is new to bringing students to Missouri State is Southwest University in Yinshan, China. And we're looking into not just the fact we've had some short-term numbers of students here from Southwest University, but having a dual master's program and also 3+1 programs, we anticipate that will occur and expand the reach of the university. You know, as we do these things, we try to evaluate ourselves consistently in processes, everything from accreditation and program review to the fact that we evaluate how we're doing in general education through work sample studies. We continually try to look at how we assess things in the major, and the whole point is to be reflective and to change as we need to in an innovative way. One of the things that part of that overall evaluation going back several years led to is the fact that we will have and do have, as of just a few months ago, a Center for Academic Success and Transition, which will change its location, move into the library after Christmas, and should be a one-stop to at least get information, if not solve problems for students. So that's an outcome of looking at where we were and the needing to improve our retention and our responsiveness to students. Innovation is a part of our life now. Change is a part of it, and I believe that we evidence that we are being responsive to those things. So thank you very much.